Alright, as Joe and I have started mounting the doors, what we're finding is both doors are actually too short. Okay, that's not unusual. So what we're going to be doing is adding metal onto the very bottom edge of the door. Joe's going to do some TIG welding, and he came up with a really good idea. Rather than just using the welder to build it out, what he's going to do is he's going to place a rod along the bottom edge of the door like this. Let me get down here. And this is an 1/8 of an inch rod, so it's the right thickness for all the 3 layers of steel. And then he will actually TIG the inside of that. And here's an example. So he'll do this inside joint will be done here. He made a test piece. Now flip it over. And then you can see the rod on this side. Now he'll probably just do some very small tacks here, and I will use fiberglass filler to fill that in. But we will effectively add it 1/8 of an inch directly onto the bottom of the door in a really nice clean way. And so I think what Joe's getting ready to do now is, let's see, Joe, didn't you say you're going to cut that in half and watch and see your weld penetration?
We're going to cut it and make sure that the weld is penetrated completely.
Perfect. Excellent. Alright, so you can see here that what Joe's doing is just simply tacking. He's not even adding any material. He's just melting the material across. And this is just to get the bar perfectly held and exactly flush with the bottom. And then he'll then add the material to seam it on the inside. There you go. Just did that one. Perfect. Alright, so Joe completed the full length seam on this side of the door, and you can see he TIGged that rod all the way in, all the way down. It looks really nice. And then on this side, let me let the door down here slowly. Now on this side, all you'll see here are the tack points, because you don't need to weld this on both sides. We've done some tests. It's extremely strong. So I'm going to now skim this and fill in this crevice with filler and smooth out both sides. And this is going to actually have a straighter line on the bottom than it did, both from the factory and from Dynacorn. So looking good. Alright, so here you can see that I have ground this lip down so that all that bead weld is gone and it's perfectly flush again. A little bit of, imperfections here and there, but I'm going to do one really light skim coat, and then we'll use that to smooth the bottom. I've already skimmed the underside edge and filled in the gap, so she's getting close. And so here you can see the body filler has just been packed in to fill in that seam, and I'll be smoothing that out with a sled sander, and then of course we'll do the rest with primer and the normal body work. And this is what it's like after the sled sander hit it. So as you can see, you're really only getting fill where you really need it, which is that small gap there. But it's interesting because the sled sander did reveal some low spots from the factory that had nothing to do with us. And that's not that unusual. Obviously, before we were to paint this car, we will be blocking all the new parts repeatedly, most likely. But anyway, I love the way this is coming out, and we were able to add a minimum of 1/8 of an inch of metal along the bottom, and it's strong and straight. Looks good. So now I'm working on the radiator shroud that came in from Mustang Conversion. As you can see, it's got a series of spot welds, a lot of them, that hold these plates together so that this fabricated top is attached. And this is on both sides, and so I'm going to smooth all of this out so that it's nice and beautiful. Here's the front of that radiator piece I was telling you about with all the spot welds. As you can see now, nice and smooth, the way it should be. It's looking good. So these are one of those small sounding things that you spend quite a lot of time when you're trying to really do a car right. These are called quarter panel extensions, and when you fit them onto the car after you've done a lot of body work, inevitably they don't fit really flush. And what you want to be able to do is look down a car and see a seamless transition to the actual end, because this is viewed as a part of the quarter panel, even though it unbolts and comes off, as you can see on this side right here. There are 3 bolts that hold it on that you reach from the inside. So let's see if you can see this here. If I zoom in and get down on the side, I think you can tell. Yeah, let me back up a little bit here. So you see there's a lip that's exposed that shows you that in fact this area is sticking up, probably 1/8 of an inch. So if you were looking down the side of a beautiful paint job, that wouldn't look too good. So what we've got to do here is to actually fill and float this in and blend it. Same thing at the top crease here and in this area. So we have a high area all across here, and you do not want to grind down this. This is pot metal. If you ever made a mistake on pot metal and or cut a hole through it or anything like that, you can't weld and fill it in. So you fill this side in this direction. So you can see here I've scuffed up the epoxy primer, and I'll be applying a very nice small thin float layer through here. You want to use as little as you can to get it as perfect as can possible. Alright, so you can see now I put the first skim coat on here, and that's about the extent of pulling it out onto the quarter panel. I also just use this really handy tool, which is awesome. It's a Bondo gun. It uses disposable tips that you just throw away, and there's your body filler cartridge, and it's air powered, and boy does it eliminate a ton of problems mixing and waste, because the filler and the hardener get mixed actually in the tip. Alright, so you can see the work that's been done on this side to fit the quarter panel extensions and blend it in beautifully. And you can see here at the level of build that was needed in that one particular area to fit these, which just shows you how poor the original parts fit together, and the new parts always have to be adjusted. And another area that was always been a little bit of trouble here is in this seam area. So one of the old nice tricks that you do to make a car look even more beautiful is just go ahead and fill the body seam. So that seam is going to be completely gone. This will all just be a beautiful flow. You see this side's been done as well. And so here on this particular part, this is a new end cap. I actually had to do some work on this end cap and on the quarter to line it up, but you can see it now as a very nice flush fit. I have shot 2K primer now on the area where I did the work for the quarter panel extensions, where I did some work on both the quarter panels and the extensions. And as you can see, the seams have turned out beautiful. And let's just see, I primered the extensions separately. So I wanted the two pieces apart, and then I'll put them all together and I'll do some block sanding, etc. But let's just see how well this fits. And as you can see, once I adjust it and center it, it is like a glove. Beautiful. That's the way to do it. Anyway, excellent.